Welcome back everyone to episode 9, and we're heading into the final video of part 4, and we're going to wrap up the episode with a look at another windowed function. So let's head on in to SQL Server Management Studio. Okay guys, let's change that database quickly and we'll start off with the lesson. So the final windowed function that we're going to look at is the first value and last value. So that is two functions, but one is simply the opposite of the other. Now the whole idea about the first value is simply to pull the first value in our order by, based also on our partitioning as well. Last value is then the opposite, to pull the last one in that partition. So a little bit similar to min and max, the aggregate functions we've seen in an earlier video, but they do function slightly differently, and we'll have a look at the differences between the two as we go. So all we're trying to do here is simply pull these columns here from these tables, and then we're going to have a look at the first value function. Begins and ends in a open and close bracket, of course, and we have the usual over, then we open it. We can then partition by the columns that we want, and then order by the other columns we want there as well. Now what we're doing is we do still need to pass a column into the function itself. So as you can see, if I delete that, it comes up with an error. So we need to pass something in. So what we're going to do is we're going to pass in the quantity, because you want to see the first value, i.e. the quantity there. Now you'll also notice that it's the same value that we have in our order by clause there. So what we're going to be doing then is, for every single ID, what we want to do is to pull the first value in the quantity. So this is ordered ascending, so it will pull the lowest quantity effectively, and it'll pop it in this column here. So we want to pull the first value, which is the lowest quantity, based on the order by of same quantity. So let's have a look and check the results from those. Takes a little bit of time to run. There you can see we've got our customer name there, and it has the order ID. So we're partitioning by the order ID. As you can see here, we have the two order IDs here because we have two distinct order lines. As you can see, it took a little bit of time to run there. So we've got the one order there, and we've got two order lines, but as you can see, the first value is a 3, which is the lowest value of these two here, and it'll put that against every single column that you can see there. So if we have a look at the next one, you can see there's 3 order lines. The lowest quantity is 5 for the developer joke mug, and of course it's put that against it there. So we know that that is the lowest value there. So that's all we're simply doing, is putting on the lowest value on that partition per order ID, and we're taking the lowest one there. Now we can also pull the last value, i.e. in this case would be the greatest one. So let's run that off, see what we come up with. As you can see, it's taking a little bit more time, and the problem is it's not actually putting the last value in there. So it's putting in the smallest value, but then it's putting in something weird. So we know that smallest value is 3, and that's putting it in there in the first value, and the largest value is 72, but it's not putting 72 into the right values here. So that should be 72 as well. Now the way we can get around this is simply by writing out this rather lengthy block of writing, rows between unbounded preceding and unbounded following, and if we run that off quickly, we can see that that issue will be fixed. There's our 72. So that's our lowest value, our first value, and our largest value, which is our last value there, for those specific order 9s for that ID. Looking again at that, 5 is our lowest, which we have here, 175 is our highest, which we have here. Now of course this all depends on the way that you order, the direction you order by. So for example, if I put it descending there against that one and run it off, you'll see that it pretty much matches the last value, as you can see there. So it's first value on the order by. So your order by itself is quite important. Do you want the first value on the descending or the ascending? And again, with the last value, if I put it as descending, it'll then pull the lowest amount instead. So within your partitioning, your order by is quite important as well to think about. So that's your first value and last value. So obviously you can do a first value ascending, and then in the next row first value descending sort, and you'll get the lowest and then the highest, instead of going through all of this malarkey with your last value. So you could use either or there. So looking back at our min and max, we had to effectively write this bit of code here, because as you can see, if we're partitioning by the order ID, then we can only group on the order ID as well. So within a CTE or subselect or a temporary table, etc., we had to run this bit of code off first to get our minimum and max for every order ID. And we could only group on the order ID, because if we didn't do this CTE, where we were just grouping on the order ID alone, we'd have to group on all of these bits and pieces as well, customer name, etc., the description, all sorts, and we'd get weird and wonderful results. So when we used min and max, we needed to make sure it was just on the order ID, and then we could run off our code there. So this is exactly the same, using that CTE in another query here. Let's see what we get. And you can see here, we've got the min and max. Same with your first value and last value. And here the same again for each order line. So we're taking the lowest value and then we're taking the highest value there. So that's how to do exactly the same thing with the min and the max. The only difference is, of course, this is purely just one select statement. Here you've got to do two. So you've got your CTE or your subselect or your temporary table, etc. And then you bring that in to a second select there to get the same result. But as you can see, when we ran this one off, it's pretty quick to return the results. Only a few seconds to get our data there, compared to the first value function and the last value function, which did take quite a bit of time. Still took about 18 seconds to get that data. My computer must be running a little bit slow today, but you can see two different ways of achieving exactly the same thing. One is within a single select statement, the other one is using the min and max with a separate CTE or a temporary table of some sort to give us our min and our max, and then we just simply bring that in to another select statement. So which one to use? I would say have a look at what your capabilities are first of all. This is getting quite complex. This one's even more complex here with all the writing, but you can achieve the same thing with much simpler code. Sometimes this could run faster than this up here, but sometimes your first value functions may actually work a lot quicker than your min-max followed by a second select. So this just gives you two different ways to play around to get your highest and your lowest values in a separate column when you also have to bring all sorts of other columns in. That wraps up the first value and the last value. Let's have a look at a little scenario to make sure we understand what's going on with this function. So the warehouse manager is after some data to see what quantity of each item he currently has within the warehouse, along with their bin location, as well as the highest quantity held in each bin location, regardless of what that item is. You've been asked to supply this information to him. So first things first, we need to decide what columns we're going to pull. The normal columns from our tables looks like we need a quantity, we need the item, and we also need bin location. So there's three straight away that I can see. And then of course we have to write some bit of fancy code to pull the highest quantity held in each bin location. And I suspect one of the easiest ways to do that is our handy first value or last value functionality that we've just learned a few minutes ago. So if you want to give this one a try, do some code, run it off, see how well you go, and when you're ready you can compare it to mine now. Okay then, let's begin. And the first table that we're looking for will be warehouse stock items, because we're after the item name itself. Stock item name, there we go. And next we need the bin location, quantity, etc. Where those likely to be, probably in the stock item holdings. So we'll grab that table, bring it out there. Stock item ID equals S stock item ID. So that's all matched up nicely. Let's see that table very quickly. There we go. We've got our quantity on hand and bin location. Fantastic stuff. So let's bring those in quickly. Got the bin location. And we've got our quantity on hand. There you have it. Let's have a very quick look at that data. Pretty straightforward. Each item, bin location, quantity on hand. So we've fulfilled the initial requirement. So all we need now is we need the highest quantity held in each bin location, regardless of what item it is. So it's per bin location and highest quantity. So straight away this will be in our partition and quantity will be in our order by, as we're looking for the highest there. So let's try our first value. And we're after the quantity on hand. Let's put that in there. Partition by the bin location. Order by, again, the quantity on hand. As we'll just say max quantity for that one. Now, obviously this will give us our first value and we're ordering from lowest to highest, so this will actually give us our lowest quantity. So we can either change this to last value and write the lengthy bit of writing there, or we just simply change the direction of the order by to descending. And that is pretty much it. Let's see how well we go with that. What I'll do is I'll do an order by just in case. In fact, I'll leave it out for now. See how we go. If we need to put one in, then we'll go for it. There we have it. These are only one bin location anyway, so we're pulling the maximum. But then if we scroll on down to say D1, we can see our maximum is there, and it's put the maximum against everything in D1 as it goes all the way down to the minimum. So we didn't even need to sort it. It sorted the values automatically for us there. So here we go, bin location D2, your maximum puts it in there. And again with D3 and so on down the entire list. So there we go. We've achieved our objective there. Pretty simple bit of code. As you can see, there's not much to it. It's just getting your head around what you need to put inside the first value parameters, and then your partition and order by. And of course, what's important is the direction of your order by. That's it for part 4, and that wraps up episode 9, where we had quite a detailed look at both aggregation and windowed functions within SQL Server. We've got a few more videos left where we'll have a bit more fun and games with some more SQL coding and functions. Until the next episode, everyone, I hope you all have a fantastic day.